this week is Communities of Practice. Today we have Devika, who is an ICF PCC and ICF ACTC coach, and she'll be talking about her journey in the team coaching. So, Devika, over to you.
Thank you, Chaitanya, and good evening to everyone. I don't know if people are in India outside, but good evening because I'm in India, and I'm based in Pune. Um, to give you a little bit of background about me, I have this passion for working with people. Um, since before I got into a full-time role as a coach, I have literally worked with every area of HR, starting from talent acquisition to HR business partnering to HR operations to strategy and a bit of L&D. So I've tasted everything of HR and then got into coaching, and coaching came as a calling for me, and now it's become a way of being for me. So I've been practicing coaching for the past 6 years. And recently got my ACTC credentials through Coach to Transform. Of course, I studied with a Coach to Transformation. And before I get started, I want to take a moment to thank Coach to Transformation and Madhuri for providing me this platform to share my thoughts and experiences. So thank you so much. And along with that, I will also want to explicitly call out that any thoughts, ideas I share today in this session are totally mine and does not represent the company I work for in any way. So I just want to call that out. With that, I just wanted to give you a little brief about, what my understanding of team coaching is. And the fact is that we all exist in relations and not in isolation. And hence, team coaching is becoming an integral part of the coaching ecosystem, especially in organizations. A significant portion of the work is being delivered by teams, not by individuals today. And hence, I've seen, this growing demand for team coaching, especially in organizations. And in a nutshell, what I understand about coaching as a team coach, what our role is to move individual team members from an I to a we mentality. Reduce the group thinking, and move them towards harnessing the power of group intelligence. So that is my understanding in a nutshell of team coaching. And today I wanted to share my own journey. Though Madhuri, she gave me a lot of options of what I can talk about, but I decided to share my journey so far. And let me just pull up the PPT.
While you do that, thank you so much, Devika, for agreeing to do this. Team coaching, friends, is a very, very new concept, and we are so happy that we already have about 6 or 7 credential team coaches with Coach to Transformation. So, Devika, everybody is eager to know how to become and what do we do in team coaching.
Yeah, thank you, Madhuri. And is my presentation visible?
Yes.
Great. Okay, so and I've put here, my journey from knowing to doing to being, and that's the format which I'm going to speak to you all about. I thought of putting my journey into 3 parts. One is the learning part, which is theoretical. The second is my experience, where I talk about when I started practicing the team coaching, which is more practical. And then the understanding, because of course we as coaches do a lot of reflection, and the learning and growth actually comes from the reflection. So major part of the presentation, maybe I will be sharing a lot of reflections and the understanding of what really team coaching is after the practicing. So theory is one thing, doing it is one thing, and then actually reflecting and then understanding what it is a totally different thing. So I thought of categorizing it that way. So let me start with my learning. And I'm open for you all to ask questions in between also, but I wanted to just finish my journey. So either ways, whether you want to ask in between or even in the end, I'm okay either ways. So in the knowing, I just wanted to cover a few things. Of course, I'm sure you all are already team coaches or studying team coaching, so it's nothing new for you all. But I just thought I'll summarize what team coaching is for me. And what are those few concepts that are like still stuck in my head, the very few basic concepts. The first with what is a team? When I started team coaching, I used to think group of people working together is a team. And slowly, when I started reading Professor Peter Hawkins, who I really admire, his work, I started understanding what a team really means. It's just not a group of people working together. It's when group of people, diverse people come together and work towards a common goal and purpose. That is what actually a team is. And that common goal and purpose cannot be achieved by these people working independently. So, having this prerequisite is necessary for a group of people to be called a team. So, when I start team coaching, that's the first thing I try to understand. Now, why has this team come together? Is there a common thread, or just you've given me a bunch of 10, 15 people to work with because of some day-to-day issues? Someone is not on
Team
mute.
coaching.
Sorry. Okay. So that was my understanding of teams. And what Peter Hawkins very beautifully says is when a group of people come together to create a value, and that value is something that cannot be created individually by each team member. So that makes the understanding so much more clearer. And now just to think about now that I understood what teams is, why is team coaching required? And then I started understanding is when people come together, their personalities start getting activated, competition starts kicking in, and conflicts start arising. And that's why team coaching comes in. Because when people who are working independently, high performers delivering high value output, but when they come into a group and they have to deliver something, the performance may not be at the same level as it was at an individual level. And that's why team coaching has kicked in into this whole process. Okay, common purpose. I already spoke about common purpose and why it is required. So generally, when I start a team coaching session, the first session, I spend some time on understanding the common purpose. Do the team members actually understand what the purpose is? Because the team may have got created like 5 years ago, 2 years ago, 3 years ago, and new team members come into the team. So sometimes the new ones are not clear about why they have come together and what the common purpose is. Sometimes the old ones have forgotten. So I generally start by facilitating this conversation of understanding what the common purpose or the common goal is for the team to come together. And I typically co-facilitate it with the team leader because he has more clarity on, what the team goal, common purpose is. Then another aspect of coaching, team coaching is dynamics and conflicts. So I think that's the only major role of the team coach is to notice the dynamics, notice the conflicts, and bring it to the surface and reflect it back to the team. Now, the team takes it, and what they want to do with it is their team's problem. So, as a coach, I need to focus more on noticing dynamics, noticing conflicts, surfacing them, putting them on the table. So, dynamics and conflicts play a very important role of a team coach. So now it is just about now that I've started understanding what the role of a team coach is. And I think it is being an awareness agent. So my role is only to be an awareness agent to put what I'm noticing on the table and build awareness in the team. Now, many times I see myself moving into trying to become a change agent. And that typically happens because we all have this pressure of performing. And that's why we start moving into, trying to change things for people when it is not even required. Again, as awareness agents, we have to remember that we bring to the surface only what is there in the team, in the room, not bring something from outside because I think it is relevant or I think it's important. And also to remember, if I'm doing that at any instant, it is then I'm mentoring or I'm consulting, I'm not team coaching. So even if you do it just with that mindset that I'm playing a different role now.
Devika, I have a question here for you. While you're in this role, right? When you notice yourself getting into this role, which is not of a team coach, what is your typical way of coming out of it?
It's just mindful consciousness. It's just asking myself at every moment, what am I doing and who is it serving? Who is it serving? Like, is it serving my need? So every time I am even noticing and sensing, I keep thinking, why am I noticing and what is playing in my mind while I am noticing and sensing? So just the mindfulness plays a very important part when you're a team coach. Okay. And the last part is ownership. That's the last part of the engagement where the team coach has to start transferring the ownership towards the team. Sometimes we delay too much and the end of the engagement comes in. So I try to transition towards, the not absolutely the fag end, but little before the end, so that the team and the coach, the team leader start understanding how to take on ownership for the team. And this is mainly required for sustainability. And that's the whole concept of team coaching, that the team starts coaching themselves from there on. So this was my learning part, which is I think everyone has covered, must have read about it, studied about it. If you're preparing for ACTC or if you're already a team coach, these are basic concepts, but they somehow stuck with me. So I thought I'll just bring it up. Now, moving to my experience, I thought of sharing a case study of a team coaching engagement that I had done. This, because I am not allowed to pick up any case from my current firm, current organization, so I've picked up something from the past. This is something I had done in the year 2022 when I was an independent coach and an HR consultant. So it's a kind of an older case. I put it in the fishbone diagram and put in some new things that which I did not know of then. So there is a little bit of alteration that I've done. But I can walk you through what the case was. To start with, it was a manufacturing company, small manufacturing company. It had around 500 employees. And this engagement period lasted for 3 months. So it was around February 2022 to May 2022 is the period of the engagement. We had the sponsor reach out to us and he wanted us to coach a team which comprised of project managers. So there were 6 project managers, 2 business development leads, and the leader himself. So we got this problem statements that the project managers were hesitant to initiate recovery efforts after project completion. So they were not collecting the money from the customers. The BD failed to build strong relations with customers, hindering open and honest discussions. BD lacked accountability, often making commitments to customers without communicating them to internal teams. So we got these problem statements from the sponsor. Post which we also deliberated with them to understand, what is the future state? What is it that they want to get at, the team to get at? So we came up with a desired state. So what we got from the sponsor is we want clear and transparent communication, ask questions with conviction, accountability, ownership, and collaboration. So this is what we got as the desired state. And I'm saying we because I had a co-coach work with along with me in this. Uh, After that, we started the pre-engagement. We started designing the program. After connecting with the sponsor and the leader, we designed the engagement. We finalized the agenda design with the team leader. We did a kickoff call. Basically, we had all the team members, the sponsor, and the team leader come into the call and just kind of explain what team coaching is and why they are in that session, which was a short half an hour call, which was a kickoff to the engagement. And then we started with month 1, which was the first session. I decided to put in like a team engagement session instead of directly jumping into team coaching because I saw there was conflicts in the team and there was a lot of misunderstandings. So we thought of doing a team building activity just to bring the team together first. And then did some bits of team coaching there where we did norm setting, goal setting, tried to co-create an agenda with the team for the day. So this was our first session, which was for 4 hours. We gave a gap of 7 days, and then the next part was what we designed was training and facilitation. So we did actually a PowerPoint presentation followed by a facilitated discussion on the topic of effective communication, where we gave them tips and tricks. So now the content for this design, for this facilitation was custom made based on the inputs we received from the team. So the first session, we had actually asked them for what is it that you want to learn about in effective communication. And they gave us these pointers, transparency, clarity, ownership, collaboration. So we curated the content as per the inputs that we received. Then we moved into month 2 with a 20 days gap. We did a first team coaching session, then a 20 days gap, second team coaching session, 20 days gap, and a third team coaching session. And 20 days gap, and I did a follow-up session, which I'm very much in favor of doing a follow-up session just to see where the team is after the engagement is over. Now, when I write team coaching session, we didn't do just a pure team coaching discussion. We also curated, we kind of put in activities so that the team can actually start the coaching conversations based on the activities that they've done. So this was the basic design of the program. And we completed it. It was received well. The follow-up went very well, and the sponsor was very happy with the response. We had some great challenging conversations, conflicting conversations that came up. We had some heated arguments that came up. And as a team coach, because I was new at team coaching then, it was kind of draining for me and the co-coach to be able to handle the conflict that was happening in the team. But I think with every experience, we grew as team coaches and were able to deal with it. Okay, I have a question from Sandeep.
Yeah, Devika, what was the team size here?
So the team size was 6 project managers, 2 team business development leads, and 1 team leader. So there were 9 people in the team.
Okay. Okay.
Any other questions on this part, on the design?
Hi, Devika, this is Kenneth here. You mentioned this coaching engagement was, the team coaching engagement was before you began your ACTC certification. I was wondering, sorry, I just wanted to check if that was, what I'd heard was correct, right?
It was before I gave my credentials, like my credentialing exam. So I've been doing coaching for 6 years now.
Okay.
And again, like I wasn't doing pure team coaching. I was already doing team development modalities. So it included
Okay.
team building, team coaching, team facilitation. So it included all of it.
Okay. So I was just curious to know if you had to look at it, this engagement from today's lens and
Very
your
different.
understanding. Yeah. So what are some of the things that you felt are things that coaches need to be aware of when they're getting into team coaching?
I love that, Kenneth, that you brought it up, because the last section of my presentation is going to be that, my learnings, and what I could have done differently. So I will cover all of that in detail in the last part of this presentation.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah. Any other questions? Then I'll move forward. Okay,
So
so this is,
I just want to comment. Sorry, Devika.
Yes.
Kenneth, ICF allows you to have team coaching experiences which are prior to 5 years before you actually give the credentialing exam. So that's something that is allowed. So up to 5 years is something that you can take up.
Okay, good to know. Thank you.
sorry, that was your question. I didn't quite get your question.
That wasn't the question.
No,
My
no.
question was around understanding
Okay.
sort of what your views are of
Yeah.
the work that you've done in the past, and if you have to see it now, as you said, you've done the credentials as well. That's why. So that's what you'll be sharing. So
Yeah, absolutely, Kenneth. And I'll also tell you that in the past, when in 2022, my entire year was as a freelance consultant and L&D, means leadership development coach and facilitator. Knowingly, unknowingly, there are many times I have done coaching conversations, because now that I've studied and understood, I was like, oh, I've already done this. There were conflicts and dynamics, and we were doing team coaching already in the past, but not as structured as I started doing later on.
right, yeah.
Okay, now we actually do design the entire program. There it used to just show up here and there sometimes.
Got it. Yeah.
Okay.
So, Devika,
Yes.
on this design framework you have, or the approach you took, on hindsight, that now that you have more experience and more insight, it started with, diagnostic, discussion, dialogue, and then you moved into a team engagement session. But if you're doing a classic team coaching, what would you do here or will not do here? I know every customer's context is different, but the common minimum kind of part of the design.
So thank you for that question, Sunita. And I'll tell you, if I have to look back at the design of the program, I wouldn't have done much. I wouldn't have done things very drastically different than what I've done here in terms of design. There would be few things that would change here and there. But when it comes to when I got into the session and when I, was coaching, then there is a lot that I learned, which I shouldn't have done and I could have done better. So it's in the design, I wouldn't change much. So what you see on the screen, I wouldn't change much, but the way I run the engagement would have been much more different. And that I will cover in my my third part of the session, where I've covered all my learnings from all these engagements that I've done.
Yeah, waiting for it then.
Yeah, thank you.
I see one more question, Muralidharan. Do you want to take it now or later?
We can take it. Is he on mute? I'm not able to hear.
Murali, you're on mute.
Yeah, apologies. Sorry. I didn't realize that. So unless it's going to derail the session timing completely, would you give an illustration of while you did the team coaching, one conflict resolution thing that unless it's client confidentiality which prevents you from saying it?
So this client was before the firm that I worked for, and I'm not giving you the client name anyway. So okay, I can't think of a conflict resolution, but I can tell you a situation where I reflected back. Okay, there was a conflict also, and I remember handling it very differently then, and today I would have handled it very differently. So there was an argument happening between a BD in the same case between a project manager and a BD, and it was happening in the virtual mode. They were all arguing with each other, and it was virtual, so it becomes even more difficult to control the situation. And me and my co-coach both were kind of new at this, and we were noticing that, and we kept asking questions. Typically that's taught to you, that what are you noticing? We asking the team, what are you noticing is happening here between the two team members? So we were asking those generic questions, and that thing got resolved at that moment. So all the other team members also suggested solutions to the problem that they were fighting over. That thing got resolved. But after the resolution also, what I was noticing, that one of those two people in the argument, he just closed down and he was not speaking up. He was not opening up after that. He did not say a word. And from his face, it was visible that he was not comfortable in that conversation anymore. And I kept looking at him, and I didn't know what to do in that scenario. Like, how can I reach out to him? What can I do? But I felt very bad that he closed down in that entire session. Now, if it would have happened today, now with a little bit of experience, I realized what I could have done is pinged him on the side while my co-coach takes over, pinged him on the side and tried to have that conversation and pull him back into the conversation. I could have done that, and I didn't do that in that session. So we lost one person from the team throughout the engagement post that. So when we say team coaching is looking at the team as a single entity, even if one person is moving away, that entity is actually not whole. So that is something that I still remember, and I think of it that I could have done it differently. Something that we did well was the first session was in person, the remaining were virtual. So in the first session, a new team member had joined, and she walked into the room and she sat separately from the others, and the others were sitting together and chatting and being their own self. And when I noticed that, I just brought it to the notice of the team that you have one team member sitting separately and you're here, and what's happening here. And it was very nice to see that the team started involving her and said that we weren't even aware, we didn't know that this was happening, we didn't realize that we are leaving her out because we were so engrossed in our own relationships and own talk. So they kind of brought her into the session. And what happened after that is that realization and awareness carried forward outside the session also. So they started being more aware and more intentional about involving her in work and all the activities they were doing. So that was a positive thing that I remember doing then. So there were good and bads also, and there's a lot of learning. In fact, after every engagement, there is tons of learning. And something that had worked in the previous session, you might realize that, oh, this was my learning from the previous session. Now it has gone bad, and now I have to relearn the whole thing again. So that happens too. So thank you for the question. Can I move ahead in the interest of time?
Yeah, I think you should.
Yeah, so this was something that we gave to the client. We made something like this to give a time estimate, how we are splitting across the session, how many hours is each session going to be. So this was a breakup that we gave them, the 90 days, what is going to happen. Of course, we say 90 days, but it goes here and there. There are some reschedulings, but we try to block calendars way in advance, so there is no rescheduling. Too much of gap between two sessions, we lose the relevance of the previous conversation. This was the basic logistics for team coaching sessions, for one facilitation or training that we did. So total, we had 6 sessions. Members were 2 BD, 6 PM, and 1 leader. So there were 9 people in the group coach, the team coaching altogether. Duration was 3 months. Frequency 20 days. Sessions were after every 20 days. And we gave them a per person time investment, because in organizations, they want to know how much time each team is utilization, etc. They track that. So how much each time is going to spend in their engagement. So this is what we gave the client. So before I move into the understanding bit of it, are there any questions, any more questions? No? Okay. So this is the part I said that
Devika, there is something, if you could go back, could you go back? So Shifali has requested. Shifali, which slide are you referring to?
This one only. So I didn't really catch on to how you did this. You said you gave them a time estimate. If you could just help
the
me
time
understand that.
estimate, this slide.
No, the one that, this one, the logistics.
This one. Oh, so the total time invested per participant. So this was based on this. So they will be engaged in this session. So individually, some organizations track how many hours person is putting in training. So we had to give them that. They requested for that. So each person would be putting in 19 hours for this entire engagement, end to end, within a 3 months period. So most organizations would ask you for that.
Okay, got it. Thank you.
Okay, so I'll move to the next bit. And there are some pieces that I have learned over a period of time, though the base was known, but there was some more things that I have learned. And at every engagement, I'm learning more. So to talk about design, what I've understood, so far, and it's my understanding, my learning from my experiences. So it's not written anywhere, and I'm not like, it's just completely my thoughts and my experience. I feel that team coaching mostly won't be a standalone engagement. So you won't have just a team coaching happening, because it's very difficult to kickstart the conversation if it's just a team coaching. So it is generally, it will be clubbed with other modalities. So for me, what I do is, when I get a requirement from a sponsor, I start thinking holistically, and I try to develop a comprehensive team development engagement. So it's not just called team coaching, it's a team development engagement. And team coaching is a component within that. But nowadays, because it's a team coaching engagement, it will have more of team coaching, less of the other modalities, but we do bring in the other modalities also. So some of my favorites would be team building activities, because if there is conflict, etc. in the team, doing a quick team building activity right in the beginning brings them together. So these are aids actually to help you to get there. Team facilitation, we sometimes facilitate a discussion, like especially if it's purpose, value, common goals, trying to get them there, we'll do a facilitated discussion. So we bring in that. I also add training. If I feel they need tips and tricks on something, some concept is not clear to them, say EI, this topic has come up, and they say, we really don't know what emotional intelligence means, we'll design, custom design a training program for them. So the entire engagement may have all the different modalities included in it, and that's when it becomes more effective. Also, what I've realized is, if the engagement is a little longer, typically 2 to 3 months, and now I really work around 2 to 3 months engagement, it is more effective. Because, the team actually learns through awareness, takes it back to their work, applies it, brings it back in the next session, reflects on it, and then, changes, maybe adjusts, adapts to whatever. So they have at least one or two iterations of doing this. So they kind of learn new behaviors, and then they get used to or tuned to doing it by themselves when the engagement ends. So having a little longer team coaching or team development engagement always helps. So this was one of the learnings. Purpose and value, like I have mentioned in the beginning, purpose and value is very, very important. But my learning from this is, when I learned team coaching and when I was new at it, the first thing that came to my mind is dynamics and conflicts. So the tendency as a team coach was, even before the engagement or within the engagement, is to start noticing dynamics and conflicts. So my focus is to be on dynamics and conflicts. But then slowly I started realizing that yes, dynamics and conflicts is a part of team coaching, but the first foremost thing is to get the value or the purpose or common goal. So start focusing first to get there and then move into the conversation and start noticing dynamics, etc. So I started understanding the importance of having that common purpose defined very well, because that's the thread that brings all the team members together. It weaves all the team members into that thread. So getting that is very, very important. So with this case study, when we started, they were not able to, when I had that conversation with them, what is it that you've come together? We had some desired states, which were just pointers. But what was that one purpose? What is the value you are going to create? Or what is the purpose you all are coming together? Because these people were from different departments also, not only from the same department, they were from different departments coming together for something. So they deliberated a lot and discussed a lot, and finally they came up with this thing. The value they are going to create, or the common purpose, is outstanding customer experience. So once that was clear to them, that that is what they all need to deliver, and they also and the fact is that it couldn't have been delivered individually by each person or by each department, because there was an interdependency in the roles. So they had to really work together to get there. So the common purpose has to be really clear to the team. So I do spend some time on common purpose now before getting into the engagement. Next, one of my learnings was noticing the team. So typically, because I had been a one-on-one coach for a longer time, the tendency when I was new was to jump into a session and start looking at each team member. What is each team member doing? What is each team member doing? And slowly I started realizing that as a team coach, I'm not supposed to look and coach at a single person. I have to look at the entire team as an entity and look at them and coach them as a single entity. So my job was actually to start noticing patterns of the team. So these could be communication patterns of the team. It could be decision-making patterns of the team. So how is the team making decisions? Are they very quick at making decisions without looking at data? Or are they very slow and they delay their decision-making? How is the communication? Are they open or they are closed with their communication? So looking at patterns within the team and bringing it forward to the team. So some of the patterns would be moving them forward, some could be holding them back, and they need to really look at it and do something about it. So as a coach, I need to notice both and bring it to the surface. In the whole process, I may also notice individual behavior patterns where a individual person may have some particular patterns that may hold the entire team back. Now, as a team coach, over a few engagements, what I've realized is I have to be really careful about that. I have to make a choice of, do I want to call out this individual behavior pattern right now? Is it an urgent need? Because at the beginning of the engagement, I may not have developed the trust with the team yet. So I'd wait for some time and then call it out, because by then the trust is developed with the team. And secondly, before I call out, I always seek permission of the person whose behavioral pattern I'm going to call out. So keeping those two things in mind. So these are some things that I have learned. Also, and like Peter Hawkins says that we as team coaches don't coach individual team members, we coach the relationship between them. So we need to keep noticing what's happening in the relationships and the dynamics. And there's another thing he beautifully says is focus on the music and not the musicians. If the music is playing well and in tune, that means the musicians are doing well. So focus on that. So that was about noticing the team. Rapport building with the leader, this is something that is something that needs to be looked at in every engagement almost, because if you're not able to have a rapport with the team member before the engagement starts, it becomes a little difficult, because we need the team leader in the engagement. He has to gel with the team and be one of the team members. If he comes with the tendency of I'm going to lead, I am the leader, then it becomes very difficult to run the team coaching engagement. So building that little bit of a rapport with the team leader before the engagement, and having him, ready to be one of the team members, will really help you be successful in that team coaching engagement. Otherwise, it becomes a big hindrance in the entire engagement. So that was the next learning for me. Second, the next is being present. And what I realized is being present in team coaching setup is quite different and more draining than it is in one-on-one. Because you're looking at multiple people, you're sensing. So the sensing part of it, where you're trying to, one is listening, where you're seeing what is happening and how people are acting. The second part is sensing, where someone is not saying something, the team is not saying something, or they're suppressing some actions. So the sensing part becomes very draining. And there's a reason for that. Now, if I reflect, I started thinking, because there needs to be a dual presence. There has to be one presence outside, which helps you sense what is happening in the room. And the second presence is within you, and where you have to keep validating what you're sensing. Because sometimes you've already got some inputs from the leader or the sponsor, you may end up sensing something that is confirmation, like you confirming something. So there may be a confirmation bias playing in your mind, or any other bias that may be playing in your mind. So whatever you're sensing has to go back and you need to validate it. So there needs to be a dual presence. And that's what I realized is it's quite draining for the coach. And for that, I think I do meditation before I get into a session, and I do some grounding activities because that is very, very required. In fact, when I was new into this, I used to be really tired after the session, but now I think I've learned the trick, and I can maintain the energy level throughout the session. So that was the next. That was on presence. Vulnerability and change. I think being vulnerable and taking feedback has really helped me grow. In fact, I take feedback after every module is over. And not always do we get positive feedback. Sometimes we get something negative. So, with the case study that I showed, there was an activity we did which did not sit very well with the team. And I got an instant feedback from the team, from the leader, from the sponsor. I got feedback from all of them saying, we didn't like this activity. For a minute, of course, we get defensive as coaches and we think, oh, we are the experts and we know what to do. I had to just sit back and digest that for some time. And I started thinking, if this same activity has worked with other teams in other engagements, what went wrong with this team? And I had to just accept it that every team is different, dynamics in every team are different, and the same activity is not going to work for everyone. And having said that, we are all human. Even in the future, if you're careful and carefully design team activities, you have to remember that you cannot predict human behavior. You cannot really predict the 100% success of the activity or the design that you have made. So I think being open to even being agile with your team, your design, your engagement design, not being fixed with it, that this is the design and we are going to do this for 3 months. But I take feedback and I keep relooking at the design and enhance it. But of course, run it back to run it by the sponsor and the leader again, because they are the sponsors, and tell them, this is what happened, this is what I think. And they're really very happy. They will appreciate you for this because finally it's working in their favor. So if you're really agile and you're okay to adjust, it really works in your favor with the client too. Then norm setting. I think this is something I have learned about norm setting, and I think my understanding could have been wrong in the beginning. But what I've understood is norm setting has to be an agile process. It's set in the beginning of the engagement, but it's not carved in stone. The team has to discover their norms along the way. So as conversations happen, progress, as the conversations progress, the relationships keep changing and evolving. So when that starts happening, some norms that were set like earlier in the beginning may lose its relevance and may need to be dropped, because if you don't, then the team may feel stuck with those norms. So, being open to dropping those norms and then bringing up new norms. So having the team look at norms as a continuous process and not like a one-time activity. So this is something that I've learned with few engagements. Understanding the system. Now, this is something again new that I'm trying to understand, is whether you're an internal coach or an external coach. Understanding the context or the system in which the team exists will help you coach better in that particular context. So just understand where the team is going to go back to after they have been coached. So it also actually helps me watch out for my biases. Sometimes something is not happening right in the system and my mind will say, oh, this is not right. This is not right for the team. That is not right for the team. So first, understand what the system is, and also understand that my agenda as a team coach is not to change the system, but to just understand it and coach within the context of the system. So to give you a simple example, some organizations may have hierarchies, some organizations may be flat. So as a coach, I cannot be biased to say, oh, this for this team or flat organization is the best solution, because that is outside my control and outside my agenda. But if they have an hierarchical system, how do they exist within that system, and how am I coaching them within that context helps me do the coaching better. So understanding systems is the next part that was, an eye opener, and it takes time. Getting into that conversation right in the beginning when you're talking to the sponsor, asking him, more details about the organization, the structure, etc., the reporting structure. So trying to get a little more information about the organization in which the team exists. And of course, this is my favorite, like follow-up. Always, I prefer to have a follow-up session, at least like 20 days, 15 days, or maybe a month after the engagement is over, just to make sure that the team is still moving in the group intelligence stage and have not moved back into group think, or the conflicts have not started again. So I really do a follow-up to understand how it's going. Are there any hindrances? And is the team able to coach themselves? Because now they have taken up the ownership for the entire coaching part of it. So these were some of my major learnings, and the journey goes on. Like, if I would have filled this slide, I would have had like 30-40 points to put in, but in the interest of time, I just put a few. But it's been an interesting journey, and many more to come, because I see the demand for team coaching going up quite a bit. And I do both modalities, one-on-one and team coaching, and it's fun when it is different from each other. We cannot say it's the same. There are some pieces that are same, there are some pieces that are different. And when you start doing both, you get those aha moments. Oh, this is different in team coaching. Oh, this is different in one-on-one. So the experiencing part and then the reflecting part is what has actually helped me grow in this area. So this was my journey so far, and if there are any questions, I'm open to take them.
Before you do that, Devika, thank you for being yourself, bringing that team coach within you for this session, vulnerably sharing what your experiences were. I just want to acknowledge Amin is also here, and he's been our supervisor. So I thought, so just wanted
I wish
to call
I knew
that
that
out.
earlier.
So thank you, and let's see what questions are there. I mean, anything you want to add? By the way, we loved your sharing, both of us. So on the background, that was also happening.
No, maybe quickly, just well done, Devika. It's really impressive, all the whole process you explain and what you're doing. It's very impressive, and it is indeed team coaching. It's a process. It's not one shot. So, and I love to see that. The thing is, what I'm not hearing, it's how are you integrating systemic in your approach? All the systemic approach that Peter Hoggentalk and David Clutterberg and all this big guru here and team coaching talking about the systemic aspect of it. How are you taking into consideration that?
So, can you repeat did you ask me a question?
Yeah,
The
my
systemic part.
question. Sorry, yeah, my question was how are you integrating the systemic aspect of team coaching, the system in which the team operating,
Absolutely.
into the whole intervention.
Yeah, absolutely. And that's what I said. I mean, I'm just getting into understanding systems and understanding how it is important to understand the system as a coach before you start coaching the people, because the behaviors can have some link to the system that they exist in. And to know, okay, he's doing this because I have a background. Okay, this is showing up because this could be the reason. So as an external coach, I think that conversation has to be had with the sponsor. And sometimes with that engagement we actually met with different people in the organization who are not not actually related to the team, but to understand what the team does and to understand the ecosystem in which the team exists. We spoke to all the department heads and we spoke to the HR, we spoke to the finance, and we tried to understand the organization. It was a smaller organization and we had the liberty. We also spoke to the HR to understand what the HR thinks. We got some inputs from there. And we also started gathering how this organization operates. What are the hierarchies in this organization? Who's the decision maker in this organization? So some aspects we started collecting from the what we've heard, because again, as external coaches, we cannot really get into the system. But as much as what we could gather, and then try to relate it back to what is happening within the coaching sessions when the people are talking. And we could see some connections. We could see, okay, he's saying this because the decision making power lies in one place only. So when they say they cannot do this, okay, I understand why they're saying that they cannot do this. So understanding all this is a new area that I'm getting into. So I don't know if I answered you correctly. I'm also trying to get into it new. So yeah.
Just a second, Devika. So I request everyone to turn on your camera. Let's make this Q&A session very much interactive. There are also a couple of questions in the chat box as well. So would you want me to go through them?
In the chat box, okay.
Devika, if you want to turn this sharing off, then it's
Yeah.
easier for you to see.
Yeah, thank you.
People, please light up the room. Please turn on the cameras and come on and let's have a chat with Devika.
Okay, there does understanding the system sometimes lead to dysfunctionality in an organization structure of hierarchies that could be hindering team dynamics. If yes, you provide guidance on the aspect to relevant stakeholders. So again, Amit asked this question. So like I said, as a team coach, I can only understand the context and that's it. I cannot interfere because I do not have the ability to change anything in the system. So I would, the dysfunctionality in the organization or in the system is not something that is my role as a coach. So I would want to only understand what is happening so that when I am in the coaching, I have the context of what is happening. Okay, someone has asked before the session, how much time do you put into knowing to deep dive about organizations as each business area is different? Absolutely. Now I'm an internal coach. So overall context, I understand, overall system, I understand, but you're absolutely right. Every team, every department has some different system in which they operate. We do spend some time, but as internal coaches, we have more access to understanding systems than an external coach would have. So yes. How do you, how do you get the team leader to be one with the team? I discussed it is a challenge and we try all different ways. And Amin is here, Madhur is here. I have sometimes succeeded, sometimes failed. So I don't know what to say about it. But I think rapport building and spending enough time, again, like because we are internal coaches, we have the liberty. We do that before the session. We do the rapport building and talking to the leader and kind of preparing him mentally before he gets into the coaching conversation. So it is easier for us to do, but externally, yes, it is a little difficult. And it's also very industry, I don't know, I'm saying out of my experience, but a little industry agnostic because some like manufacturing and all have very strict hierarchies, whereas technology companies would have a little flat structures. So it depends on the industry, but that's a generalization and I wouldn't make it.
There's one more on the follow-up process, Devika.
Yeah. What was the follow-up process and is it any way related to increased productivity? So follow-up is generally, it's not a coaching session. We just try to understand where the team is and how they have taken up the role of coaching themselves is what we do. If there are any rollbacks, or if there are any hindrances, we just discuss, we just try to understand. Sometimes, because again, we are internally coaching, if we feel something needs more follow-up, we see something has shown up that was not addressed or something has rolled back, we go back to the sponsor and suggest that we have another 1 or 2 sessions to kind of close that if something is still standing. But again, that is possible more when you're an internal coach. External, you'll have to kind of, I think, contract again for that. Okay, do we have more? Could you please resend the link to the, okay.
No. How do you identify the common purpose and values?
Yeah, like I said in this example, I gave you an example for this particular, because we had the desired state, what the sponsor and the leader were looking at. So we gave them that, and we told them, you know, what is it? What is the problem? And what is it that you as a team have to come together as? And that's where they came up with, you know, outstanding customer performance. That's what the customer service, that's what we want to achieve together, which cannot be done individually in our separate own departments, because there is an interdependency between the departments. Like the project managers may do a wonderful job, but if the business development leads do not work hand in hand with them, customer service was not going to happen. So both of them had to be working together, delivering outstanding customer performance. So that's what they got from that value and purpose statement. So they kind of aligned at that point when we did this activity. If you are in a face-to-face session, how do you speak to the person before calling out the pattern? So what we do is, if you have a co-coach, now we did that recently. So if you have a co-coach, one of the coaches would maybe take the person out to another room and discuss and then come back. That's what we tried. I don't know right way, wrong way, whether it's what it is, but we could not do it right in front of the team. So one of the coaches leaves the room with the person, has the discussion and comes back. If he says no, we don't bring it up. If he says okay, then we bring it up. So that's what we did. Sangeeta.
Hi, thank you so much, Devika, for your session. Really informative and interesting. My question is, I like the idea that you had a present, current state and the desired state. So I'm curious to know, how did you measure the shift? Did you have a mechanism of measuring the shift?
Oh, that's lovely. Great question. And that has been the struggle all the time of how do you measure the output of any coaching, or any kind of coaching, any coaching modality. So, and like in organizations, we are still struggling and we are still finding out. But in this case, the one that I showed you, we had done something which I have not included in the design here, but we had taken a rating from the team lead. Is where do you rate? We had after the conversation, we had come up with 5 competencies, like accountability, clear communication. So we had these 5 competencies. We had the team leader and sponsor rate the team where they thought they were at the beginning of the engagement. And after the engagement, not immediately, after the follow-up, we gave them the same sheet to rate them again, and if they've seen any shift. So that shift, the pointer shift for them was actually the movement, and there was a movement in that. And for even coming up with the movement and giving us that rating, they actually went back to the customers and got a feedback from the customers to say, has this changed? Has their experience changed? So that showed a recorded positive movement after the engagement.
Interesting. Thank you.
So because we are facilitators and trainers and team developers, so we bring in aspects of L&D and other things, and we kind of combine it to, because a competency rating is something that an L&D person would always do. But we wanted to see how it is more inclusive and not pointing out to each person. So we had them rate the team and not each individual team member, because they didn't want to call out each team member. So what do you think the team was on these particular competencies, and now where do you see the team on these particular competencies, looking at them as a single entity? Okay. Have you thought of training the team leader to be a team coach so that they are, that would be a separate contract, I guess. It won't be a part of the team coaching engagement altogether, this engagement altogether. So if you want to, if that is a need of the sponsor, or that is what the sponsor says, then that will be a separate contract you do, and that will be a training, a different modality altogether.
Yeah. I just want to add one layer to what Devika has said. Rightly so, it should be a separate contract. And then The ownership, however, of coaching the team after the team coaching engagement is over is of the leader. So there are some things that are passed on to that leader, but not exactly being, a certified team coach. But if that's a desire, of course, they can always contact us and we can help them. But that's a separate contract.
Yeah.
Thanks.
Absolutely. And thanks, Madhuri, for raising that, because I can add that when we are handing over the whole coaching process, we also make the team leader towards the end facilitate some sessions, facilitate some discussions. So we get him into practice towards the end of our coaching engagement. And, that's like a training for him, but that's within that coaching engagement. So that's not a specific separate training for him as such. Within the engagement, we give him some pieces to facilitate, and then we handhold him to see how he's doing, and then by the end he learns the whole process. Typically coaching the team is part of, okay, yeah, Madhuri's. Okay, I don't see any other questions. Did I answer all the questions? Are there any more? Did I miss anything? I don't know.
Anybody wants to open mic and ask the questions instead of
I know.
typing also?
I'm not wearing my glasses to read.
Yeah, maybe a question, Devika. What would
Oh
you
my
do
God.
different?
I mean, you
No,
can't
no,
ask me
sorry.
questions.
No,
No, go
just
ahead.
I'm curious now, if you have, if they call you back, imagine they call you back for a new team coaching, what would you do different? How would you approach the whole things from fresh new eyes after the whole certification you did?
I think with the last reflections, like I said, in the team, the design, I may not change too many things, but in the way I run the sessions, there will be tremendous difference in the way I do it. Because I think my mindset was still at that time was more like a one-on-one coach. My mindset, because I was moving from one-on-one to a team coach. So I realized that if I have to go back, now the being more like a team coach is the difference that's going to come up. My focus on the team as a group, as a whole, is going to be more. That time I was doing, like, even when I said, I noticed this person's face was like this. And so my focus was on each team member and each screen, what was happening, but not looking at the patterns that were coming up for the entire team as a whole. So I think that is something that I would change in the way I do it. Also, some of the activities that we had put in that engagement were uh, not something that I would have put in a team coaching engagement. They were more like a team building, team facilitation, those kind of fun activities. They were more like a fun activity. Now I would put in something that is very thought through, which is, I would custom design it based on the inputs that have come from the sponsor. This is what we are noticing, this is what we are noticing. So that I've started doing now, where the activities we design are such that when they do it together, those behaviors will get reflected, or they will be forced to kind of do those behaviors. Like, if they are not collaborating, then have them do something together and see how the team is doing with that small. It could be making a Lego set or making anything, and then have them. So the choice of activities will be very different. And of course, I said the coaching conversation, or me showing up as a team coach, will be very different now, not how it was then. Thank you. The thumbs up means a lot for me. And again, like I said, I'm learning. I don't know. In fact, when I became a one-on-one coach, also, I don't know whether I did the right thing, I did the wrong thing, or I followed ICF or not followed ICF. But now I have created my own coaching pattern. I have created my own coaching model for one-on-one coaching. This is how I coach. This is my style. This is who I am, because my style is become my personality. It has a part of my personality in it. So
Remember
I think
who
I'm
you
moving.
are. Remember who you are is how you coach.
Yes, absolutely. But that's where, I mean, I have to shift, because now I've got so ingrained in the me being a one-on-one coach, to now shifting the being to being a team coach, which is a little different. looking at collective, looking at whole, looking at more than one. So the mindset has to shift, and my being also has to shift a little bit. So the caring for a person, caring for one person, oh, that person is crying, I need to look at it. So I have to kind of shift that and look at, if the team is doing well, if the team is moving in that direction, yes, notice that, but don't get fixated at individual people. Look at patterns and look at groups, look at wholes. So yeah, that is something that I'm learning, not done yet. I go in and out of it in sessions. I still notice myself, switching in and on, but I think with practice, might be able to move there.
Wonderful case study presentation, Devika. Thank you. Thank you so much for bringing this to the community. And I think each one of us over here have learned a lot in terms of the way you went about it and your approach. And rightly so, your being of a team coach, Devika. Thank you so much once again. People, I'm handing it over to Chaitanya. Devika, any last words before I do that?
I just have some last words that I have to say. Thank you to all of you all for asking such wonderful questions. Thank you, Amin, for being here. It really means a lot to me and asking me questions, because your questions are something that I again will go back and reflect on. And thank you, Madhuri, for adding your inputs. And it's been wonderful. I think you can see the excitement in my face. I just loved having this conversation, and thank you, CTT, for giving me this platform.
Thank you, Devika. Thank you, Madhuri. It was a really wonderful and insightful session. So yeah, and also everyone, have shared the CCU certificate forms link in the chat. Please do fill up the link. You will get your CCU certificate.
Thank you. Bye-bye, everyone.
Thank you. Thank you, guys.
Bye-bye.
Thank you. Bye-bye.